"Your daughters can eat when they get home," my mother said, throwing napkins at them while my sister's daughters uncovered boxes of $65 pasta and desserts. Her husband laughed. "You should have fed them before you came." I just murmured, "Understood." I am William. I am 36 years old. I work as an accountant and I have 2 daughters, Samantha, 10, and Yasmin, 8. My wife Alexandra is a nurse. We aren't rich, but we do okay. We pay our bills, save a little, and try to give our daughters a stable life. I grew up invisible. My sister Catherine, 2 years younger than me, was always the star of the family. If she got a B, my mother Miriam celebrated it as if she had won the Nobel Prize. I could bring home straight A's and barely get a "well done." If Catherine broke something, it was an accident. If I did, it was carelessness. My father saw it. He tried to compensate, but he worked long hours and was tired when he was home. He died 8 years ago of a heart attack. After his death, my mother's favoritism got worse. Catherine married Brandon. They have 2 daughters, Emma, 9, and Sophia, 7. And the pattern continued, but now with my daughters. Miriam melted for Emma and Sophia. She bought them expensive clothes, took them to camps, paid for ballet and piano lessons. For Samantha and Yasmin, a card with $20. If we were lucky. Samantha would ask why Grandma never invited her on the trip she took with her cousins. Yasmin would cry when she saw photos of Emma and Sophia at Disney, while she had never even left the state. The dinner that changed everything was in April, on a Saturday afternoon. Miriam organized a family gathering at an elegant Italian restaurant. She invited us 2 weeks in advance, saying she was paying for everything. Alexandra was suspicious. "Are you sure? The last time your mother organized something, you ended up upset for a week. She says she wants to make things right." "Maybe she's changing, William. Your mother isn't going to change." She was right, but we went anyway. The restaurant was called Bella. Note: white tablecloths, candles on the tables, waiters in black vests. We arrived at 6. Miriam was already there with Catherine, Brandon, and the girls. My mother greeted us with kisses, but I noticed she hugged Samantha and Yasmin with less enthusiasm than Emma and Sophia. The girls sat next to their cousins, talking and laughing. We sat down. The conversation started normally. Miriam bragged about how Emma had won an art prize and how Sophia was the best swimmer on her team. Alexandra spoke up, "Samantha also won a math award last month." Miriam nodded distractedly. "Ah, how nice." And she went right back to talking about Emma. When the waiter came to take the order, Miriam took control. "For the girls," she said, pointing to Emma and Sophia, "bring the fettuccine with shrimp and the lobster pasta, and for dessert, the tiramisu and the panna cotta." The waiter wrote it all down. Then he looked at Samantha and Yasmin. "And for these young ladies?" Miriam didn't even look at them. "They're fine. Aren't they hungry?" The waiter blinked, confused. "Are you sure? I can bring them something simple." "Yes." I said they're fine. Samantha looked at me with those big eyes that broke my heart. Yasmin lowered her gaze to the table. Alexandra squeezed my hand under the table, her face red with contained rage. "Mother," I said, as calmly as I could, "the girls are hungry. Let me order something for them." "It's not necessary, William. They can eat when they get home. I didn't come here to spend money on whims." "They aren't whims. It's food for your granddaughters." Catherine intervened with that condescending voice she always used with me. "William, Mom is paying. If you want your daughters to eat, you can order on your own. I thought this was a family dinner you were hosting." "And I am," Miriam said. "But I'm not going to waste money on." She stopped, but the damage was done. She didn't finish the sentence, but we all knew what she was going to say. She wasn't going to waste money on my daughters. Brandon, Catherine's husband, laughed. William, you should have fed them before you came if you knew they were going to be hungry. Alexandra went rigid. I felt something break inside me. Miriam grabbed some paper napkins from the bread basket and threw them at Samantha and Yasmin. Here. If you're so hungry, you can chew on this until you get home. The napkins landed in front of my daughters like trash. Samantha had tears in her eyes. Yasmin stared at the napkin, not understanding why her grandmother would do something like that. I just murmured, understood. The waiter returned with wine for the adults and drinks for the girls. Only for Emma and Sophia. 2 orange juices in fancy glasses with paper umbrellas. I stood up. Everyone looked at me. Miriam frowned. Where are you going? Alexandra. Girls. Get up. Alexandra didn't ask questions, she stood up immediately. Samantha and Yasmin followed her, the paper napkins still in front of them. William, sit down, Miriam said in a commanding tone. Are you making a scene? No. I'm done. Done with what? With this. With the favoritism. With the humiliation. With watching you treat my daughters as if they are less than Catherine's. Catherine crossed her arms. Always so dramatic, William. Mom was just being practical. Practical? She threw napkins at them like they were dogs. I looked at the waiter. Cancel everything they ordered. There will be no dinner. Miriam shot up. You can't do that. Of course I can. You said this was a family dinner. A family doesn't humiliate its members. This isn't a family. I took Yasmin's hand with one hand and Samantha's with the other. Alexandra walked beside me, her head held high. We walked out of the restaurant without looking back. Outside in the parking lot, the girls finally cried. Samantha hugged me, trembling. Yasmin buried her face in Alexandra's coat. I'm sorry, Dad, Samantha sobbed. We didn't want to cause trouble. You didn't cause any trouble, I said, my voice breaking. None of this is your fault. Nothing. Alexandra looked at me, her eyes full of tears. You did the right thing. I know. We got in the car. As we were pulling out of the parking lot, I saw Miriam come out of the restaurant yelling something, but I didn't roll down the window to listen. I didn't care what she had to say. We stopped at a McDonald's. It wasn't elegant food, but the girls loved it. They ate cheeseburgers, French fries, and ice cream. They laughed watching the kids play in the play area. That night, after the girls were asleep, Alexandra and I sat in the living room. What's next? She asked. I don't know. But I'm not going to let this happen again. Are you going to talk to her? No. There's nothing left to say. It's over. I slept restlessly that night, thinking about everything I had put up with for years, thinking about all the times I kept quiet to keep the peace, thinking about how that silence only taught my mother that she could keep doing it. But not anymore. That dinner was the last straw, and although I didn't know it yet, it was only the beginning of something much bigger. Sunday morning, my phone exploded with messages. Miriam, Catherine, even Brandon. All wanting to talk, all saying I had overreacted, that the girls were fine, that I was too sensitive. I ignored them all. I blocked their numbers. I left the family group chats. Alexandra did the same. It's going to get worse before it gets better, she warned me while making breakfast. Your mother isn't going to let this go. Let her try. I don't care anymore. The following days were an avalanche of contact attempts. Miriam called my work. Catherine showed up at the girls' school. The principal called to let me know. Your sister was here asking if she could pick up Samantha and Yasmin. We told her she wasn't authorized. Thank you for letting me know. If she comes back, call the police. Alexandra received messages from aunts and cousins, all telling her I was breaking up the family, that she should convince me to apologize to Miriam. Apologize? I exploded one night. For what? For defending my daughters. I'm not asking you to, Alexandra said calmly. I'm just telling you what they're saying. Your family is toxic, William. It always has been. 2 weeks after the incident, I received an email from a lawyer. My heart sped up, thinking Miriam was suing me for something ridiculous, but it wasn't that. The email was from Thomas Brennan, the lawyer who handled my father's will. William, I need to talk to you about the trust your father established for his granddaughters. There are some irregularities I must discuss with you. I called immediately. Thomas answered on the second ring. William, I'm reviewing the trust accounts as I do every year, and I found something troubling. Your father left $60,000 to be divided equally among all his granddaughters when they turn 18. Your mother was named the trustee. I know. Dad told me before he died. The problem is, there have been significant withdrawals. In the last 5 years, more than $8,000 has been withdrawn. All of it for Catherine's daughters. For Samantha and Yasmin, 0. I felt a knot in my stomach. How is that possible? Your mother submitted documents justifying each withdrawal: educational camps, dental procedures, specialized classes, but the amounts don't add up. A summer camp doesn't cost $8,000. A dental procedure doesn't cost $6,000. She's stealing the money. I can't say that without proof, but there are irregularities that need to be investigated. The trust had a specific clause. The money was to be distributed equitably. If there is favoritism, that violates the terms. What can I do? You can request a formal audit of the trust. If they find your mother misappropriated funds, she can be removed as trustee and forced to return the money. Do it. Start today. That night, I told Alexandra everything. She was silent for a long time. $60,000, she said finally. That's $15,000 for each girl if divided equally. And Miriam gave almost double that just to Catherine's daughters. Do you think Catherine doesn't know? She has to know. How could she not notice that Emma and Sophia have camps and classes that cost thousands of dollars? Alexandra shook her head. This is worse than I thought. She didn't just treat them badly at that dinner, she stole their future. The following days were intense. Thomas hired a forensic investigator to review the accounts. I started gathering evidence, social media photos where Miriam bragged about expensive trips with Emma and Sophia, posts about private lessons, old receipts I found in my father's papers. A week later, Thomas called me. William, we found something big. One of the largest withdrawals was for an alleged dental procedure for Emma. $6,500. We called the listed dentist. Emma never had that procedure. The receipt is fake. Completely fake. Completely. And there's more. The camp that supposedly cost $8,000 actually costs $2,500. Your mother withdrew the difference and kept it or gave it to Catherine. That's fraud. Yes. With this, we have enough to file a lawsuit, not only to remove her as trustee but to recover the money and possibly face criminal charges. I thought of Samantha and Yasmin, of how they cried when napkins were thrown at them, of how that money was their future, their education. Do it. File the suit. The legal notice arrived at Miriam's house 3 days later. Catherine sent me a furious message. How can you do this to Mom? She's devastated. What kind of son are you? I replied, the kind of son who protects his daughters. I blocked her before she could respond. The legal process began. Thomas presented all the evidence, the excessive withdrawals, the fake receipts, the photos showing the favoritism. The trust's clause was clear, equitable distribution. Miriam had violated it repeatedly. The court ordered a full audit. Miriam hired an expensive lawyer who tried to argue that the withdrawals were legitimate, that there was no intentional favoritism, but the numbers didn't lie, and the fake receipts were impossible to explain. Throughout all this, the girls kept asking, "Why don't we see Grandma anymore?" Yasmin asked one night. "Because Grandma did something wrong," I told her. "And until she fixes it, we're not going to see her." Samantha, who was older, looked at me seriously. "It has to do with Grandpa's money." I was surprised she knew. "How do you know about that?" "Grandpa told me before he died. He said he had left us money for college." "Yes, sweetie. And Grandma used that money incorrectly. That's why we're fighting. We're going to get it back. I'm going to do everything I can." A month later, the date of the preliminary hearing arrived. Thomas, Alexandra, and I went to court. Miriam was there with her lawyer, looking fragile and victimized. Catherine was by her side, glaring at me with pure hatred. Brandon hung back uncomfortably, as if he wanted to be anywhere else. The judge reviewed the evidence, the withdrawals, the fake receipts, the clause of equitable distribution, the photos showing the differential treatment. It was all there, in black and white. "Mrs. Miriam," the judge said, "the evidence presented shows a clear pattern of misappropriation of trust funds and violation of the terms established by the deceased. Do you have anything to say in your defense?" Miriam wiped away a fake tear. "I just wanted to give my granddaughters the best. I didn't know I was doing anything wrong." "Including fabricating fake receipts?" the judge asked dryly. Silence. Miriam's lawyer tried to intervene. "Your Honor, my client is an elderly woman who simply made administrative errors." "Administrative errors?" The judge held up one of the documents. "This dental receipt for $6,500 is completely false. The dentist confirmed he never performed that procedure." "That is not an error, it is fraud." Miriam sank into her chair. Catherine hugged her, sobbing. "Mrs. Miriam, you are immediately removed as trustee of the trust. A full audit is ordered, and the fund will be frozen until further notice. Mr. William will have temporary custody until a neutral third-party trustee is appointed. Furthermore, you have 30 days to present a restitution plan. If you do not cooperate, criminal charges will be filed." We left the courthouse. Alexandra squeezed my hand. "You did it." "Not yet. We still have to get the money back." The audit took 3 weeks. The results were devastating. Of the original $60,000, only $32,000 remained. Miriam had withdrawn $28,000 over 5 years. The investigator tracked every transaction. $17,000 went directly to Catherine's accounts or were used for Emma and Sophia. The Disney trip, $4,800. The ballet camp, $3,200. Private piano lessons, $2,500. Designer clothes, $1,800, and various other expenses. The other $11,000, Miriam spent on trips, spas, jewelry, and a Caribbean cruise, all while my daughters received cards with $20 for their birthdays. Thomas filed a restitution claim. The court ordered Miriam and Catherine to return the full amount in 6 months or face criminal charges. Catherine called me at 11 at night from an unknown number, screaming that I was ruining her life. "We can't get $17,000, William. We don't have it. You should have thought of that before you spent it." Those were experiences for my daughters. Memories they will have forever. Experiences my daughters paid for without knowing it. Memories built on theft. Please, William, we can reach an agreement. Talk to your lawyer. I have nothing left to discuss with you. You were always a resentful person. You never got over Mom loving me more. No, Catherine. I finally understood that her conditional love wasn't worth chasing. I hung up and blocked her again. 3 months later, a certified check for $7,000 arrived from Catherine. No note, no apology, just the check. I found out later they had to take out a loan against their house. Brandon left her shortly after. Miriam had to sell her car, some jewelry, and several pieces of furniture to raise $11,000. The missing money, $4,000, was declared a total loss. The court gave her two options: pay in installments of $200 per month for 2 years or face criminal charges. She chose the installments. With the recovered money, a new fund was established, $57,000 divided equitably among the 4 granddaughters. A neutral bank was named trustee. Each girl would receive approximately $14,250 when they turned 18. It wasn't the original $15,000, but it was fair. Throughout the process, Miriam tried to contact me. Handwritten letters, messages through cousins, she even showed up at my work. Sandra called security before she could enter. I didn't respond to any attempt. The damage was done, and no apology was going to fix it. Catherine and Brandon divorced 8 months after the trial. Emma and Sophia had to quit ballet and piano. Catherine moved to a cheaper apartment. Part of me felt sorry for the girls, but it wasn't my responsibility to fix the mess their parents created. A year after the incident, we were in a rented cabin in the mountains. Samantha, Yasmin, Alexandra, and I. 5 days of hiking, bonfires, and laughter. No phones, no drama, just us. One night, while we were roasting marshmallows, Samantha asked me, "Dad, do you miss Grandma?" I thought about it honestly. I miss the person I thought she was, but I don't miss how she treated us. Will she ever truly apologize? I don't know, sweetie. And it doesn't matter anymore. The important thing is that we are okay. Yasmin, her cheeks full of marshmallow, said, "I'd rather be here than at any fancy dinner." Alexandra and I laughed. She was right. This moment was worth more than any $65 dish. 2 years after the trial, the girls had grown. Samantha was 12 and Yasmin was 10. They no longer asked about their grandmother, they no longer compared what they had with their cousins. They had learned something it took me decades to understand: true love doesn't play favorites. We opened savings accounts for college. We planned small but memorable trips. We ate dinner together every night. Alexandra and I made sure the girls knew every day that they were loved unconditionally. Miriam still sends birthday cards. I throw them away unopened. Catherine unblocked me once to write, "Mom is sick. You should visit her." I didn't reply. Some might say I'm cruel, that I should forgive. But I learned something. Forgiveness doesn't mean exposing yourself to harm again. You can let go of the anger without opening the door again. Sitting on the balcony, watching Samantha and Yasmin play in the yard, I feel something I haven't felt in years. Peace. The revenge wasn't the money we recovered. It was building a life where my daughters would never have to wonder if they were enough, where they would never be handed napkins while others received banquets. That is the true victory, and it was worth every second of the fight.